Hi there. I'm Jude Robinson. I'm the IPS President, and I'm with Kerry Holden. Kerry, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Kerry Holden. I am the very privileged Vice President of the Infectious Prevention Society and Jude sidekick and everything.
So we are beginning something a little bit new, and we'd like to call it our clinical conversations. That's where myself and Kerry are going to talk about a topical clinical part of our practice for us to think about and debate a little bit, and it might help us to perhaps join our forums and instigate some conversations. So hope you enjoy it. We're going to spend about 10 minutes just having a bit of a chat. And today we are focusing on World Hand Hygiene Day, which of course is around the corner on the 5th of May.
It is indeed.
It is. And you work in a provider organisation, Kerry. What's that like in your organisation at the moment? Is there excitement for Hand Hygiene Day?
Yeah, there always is in the infection prevention control team. I think we tend to make it a week now. I think we make it the day where we launch a lot of our improvement and our innovations and some of our quality improvement work. So you can never really get it done in a day. So
No.
World Hand Hygiene Day is a day for all of us every year, let's face it. But it's definitely, we try and extend a bit of a week of working, and it's a really nice time to work and get out and see our frontline staff, but also work with some of our industry partners as well, particularly those that are supplying hand hygiene products.
Amazing, that's great. And so obviously the World Health Organization champion this. This is their day, that we all sort of use their resources, etc. And I really love this year's strapline. I don't know about you, Kerry. It might be gloves, it's always hand hygiene. I just think that is so powerful. There's so much we can do with that, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both of us have been in positions where we've really tried to work hard on glove reduction programs and
Yeah.
getting people to think actually the gloves isn't the key bit. I mean, we do need to wear gloves and they're important at times, but it isn't 100% of the time. And we can't forget that important hand hygiene. And we know that the hand hygiene protects the patient and the staff and our families and friends when we get home. So that's the bit that we need to think it's so critical to safety. And it's actually quite scary when you look at some of the statistics about glove use, and it aligns nicely, doesn't it, with our sustainability SIG work, that looking at some of the resources that WHO's talking about, to see that they'd looked at between February and August 2020, I mean, at a time where we're probably using an awful lot of gloves and PPE, let's face it, but 3 billion items of PPE were used, and that is known. So I mean, that's just what we do know, resulting in 591 tons of waste per day, and the greatest contribution to that PPE was from gloves. So we've got some work to do, and it's on a lot of our agendas, isn't it? And I think, Jude, you were prior to working at UKHSA, you did some work, didn't you, for NHS England, that looked at how you could tackle glove reduction and improving hand hygiene across the West Midlands. Do you want to chat about through that? Some really good
Of
stuff
course.
through
And
that.
this was sort of headed up by Kirsty Morgan, who's the lead for NHS England across the Midlands. And yeah, we did a whole Midlands approach to gloves off, basically, and that's what we called it. It was gloves off, and we looked at 12 different strap lines, ranging from all different settings. So we made sure that it was relevant to ambulance and dental and acute and mental health. And then organisations could then tailor and pick the ones that they wanted to do. And it was all about getting a different message every month. So it's a whole year programme. And it seemed to get really good uptake. And, we got really good buy-in by all the organisations. And what was brilliant, it was co-produced. It was co-produced by, us as a region sort of championing it up, but actually it was all the other organisations that got involved and decided what the strap lines were going to be and help with some of the infographics. So it was a real team effort, and it just shows what a positive and what a real important element that the gloves off was. I think that we're moving a little bit now to needing to change the terminology a little bit. And what I love about the World Health Organization stuff is they talk about appropriate glove use, and I think that's more like it now. I have had conversations with occupational health societies, and when gloves aren't used at the right times or other PPE, it creates so much work in terms of contact tracing. It's the resources to do all of that, when actually if somebody just put their PPE on when there was a risk, it eliminates all that. So I think we do need to think about that appropriate use of gloves, rather than just gloves off. I think we've moved another step, 2 years later, We just need to keep thinking about our language, and that's really powerful to make sure we are using the right language for people to do the right thing.
Absolutely. And I know, I mean, it's being a bit English centric, and I'm sure there'll be more things coming out across the rest of the UK. But the new glove reduction, or the glove, the parts of the national IPC manual has had a glove use literature review. So it'll be really interesting to see what's come out from that. And, you know, we definitely want to keep this continuously evidence based. And I think for me, some of the through my experiences and how we've done glove reduction work, I think linking it to sustainability has been really key. Yeah, I think I think that's brought a new, not sort of self-preservation, but it's brought a new element to try and help some of the behaviour change aspects that we need to do. And I think certainly reinforce that as part of that programme, the importance of moment one hand hygiene. I think we, you know, we recognise that, you know, people just pull a pair of gloves out of a box, but we're thinking, actually, I need to perform hand hygiene directly before I have contact with my patients. And I think there's something we need to do more around that aspect, because the self-preservation element isn't in there. People were really good, and I say some observations we've done recently, are really good at washing their hands if you've cleaned a dirty commode or you've cleaned a dirty bed. Because of that self-preservation, I need to make sure I'm looking after myself. But I'm not sure we've quite got that same aspect for moment one. We haven't got that same motivator. So how do we get people thinking about, why is it so important to clean my hands before I have contact with the patient or their environment? And there's going to interestingly, and across the southwest that I work in, we're just about to do some research into the behaviours around that. So it'd be really exciting. Hopefully in a few years, maybe we can bring it up to the IPS as an abstract for a conference.
Absolutely.
Because we're really excited to do this piece of work, because I think it's really needed to understand some of the COM-B aspects that really drive behaviours around moment one, and while we don't just grab for the gloves.
Absolutely. I think one of my observations is the fact that people miss the moments to wash their hands when removing gloves. I think our clinical work is so busy, they very quickly have to, you know, write up the clinical notes on their iPads or something, and they take those gloves off, and then they miss that moment of decontaminating their hands before going to do something else. And I just wonder what we need to do a little bit more to get that right, and how do we get that message, because that's not part of the 5 moments, is it? You know,
no, it's true. Maybe it's need for change maybe, Jude, there.
Yeah, I'm not so some people might kill me for suggesting to add another moment to that, because we want to try and reduce it really to make it easier for people. But you know, we need to think about that, some of those critical moments of when is it really critical. And for me, after removing gloves, it's got to be, you know. So yeah, really interesting, isn't it? When you really delve into the different nuances.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm super, like, I'm one of my things, like, if you ever heard like Matt Moyer and those people like human factors, and Neil, I know, is really Wigglesworth is really supportive of looking at how human factors approach. And there's things that I think we can do, because things like, we ask people not to take, for infection control reasons, we tell people don't take the computers into the infectious rooms, but then people are going to try and remember what they did in that room and then have to take it out. And what do? They write on their gloves. And then they go out on their gloves, and then you're thinking, oh, why have you got your gloves on? It's like, well, I've got my obs because you told me I'm not allowed to bring that into the room. So we've got to think about how we need to sometimes have the lived experience of some of the people that work and handle it, so that we make it easy for them to do the right things. Same with like a lot of our gloves are outside of rooms, but we ask people to change their gloves between tasks and wash their hands between tasks, but there's no gloves to do that, so then they wear the same pair of gloves, and you know, we don't know if that even gets anything removed at all between those. So we do need to think about how we make some of our rules may have made it more difficult to do the right things. So maybe we need to have a look at self-reflection about some of that. And I really encourage people to go out and work with people and do some like back to the floor stuff, because I think you get all those insights, because the education and training is only one element, isn't it?
Yeah,
but, really exciting stuff.
Absolutely. So I guess one of the other things that I think is worth a discussion point is around media and gloves. I know this is a bit of a bugbear of yours, so I'm going to let you start by just giving us some reflections.
I think I know this has been a few people's reviews, and poor me and Jude, I think, and Gina, who's one of part of our staff team, probably you can sit in a hole in a dark room after we've spoken to her with some of the images we see where gloves are so excessively used, isn't it a shame we don't have so many images of really good hand hygiene? And when we ask for the stock loads and the stock footage of photos, so we are really keen in the IPS to work with our corporate partners to look at how we look at images around glove use you know, vaccination is a perfect example where you see, if you just did a Google search, you'd see so many images. And, you know, let's face it, it was Earth Day recently, and we definitely need to do something around some of the impacts of some of our IPC actions and some of the agendas that we've got. But certainly if we can get a visual representation of some of these things, showing the right behaviours, then we're less likely to have to compete with our head in our hands on a regular basis, where we see, like, what are you doing? You know, and it's some things, it's just like basic stuff, like you say, on a computer or answering the phone, where it's just inherently wrong, isn't it? And it's just reinforcing not only to our staff that that's an expectation, but to the public that they think that that's a safe practice and that's what we should be doing. And then we wonder why people worry then about the kind of perceptions of the public and the patients and their visitors when we aren't wearing gloves appropriately. So because they're probably thinking, I need to see it, this is what good practice looks like.
Absolutely.
Why have you put it all over your website otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we swing that back to hand hygiene, it's like, how do we get, you know, our healthcare workers sort of confident enough to be trusting the hand hygiene? Because I think some of that, like you say, it's self-preservation. You're using the gloves because they think that they're being protected, where actually the hand hygiene, you know, it's hand hygiene day. It's this is what we're pushing. Hand hygiene, it does work, it's safe, and you know, let's be doing that more. I think it's like the key message, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I know we've got a lot to do in this area, haven't we? I think anyone is probably going to be on to-do list for a long time, because it's links to behaviour change, and it's something that I think that, you know, sort of pandemic, we were kind of, PPE was something kind of in your face consistently. So we've got to unpick some of those behaviours, as well as some of the kind of the cultures inherently that's linked to them. But I think we've all, you know, I think what we really nice is people, you know, if they can share with us what they're doing, some of their programs. We're really keen next year to develop a whole suite of assets, like posters and screensavers and Teams backgrounds that we can endorse from an IPS that saves you do some of that work. But actually, if you've got something that works really nicely, I'm always for pinch for pride, right? And so if we can take some of those things, adopt them, adapt them, get them in different languages, get them with different visuals, it would be really lovely to come sit that this time next year to really have something that from an IPS point of view we can really support and give to you. And having that rubber stamp of an IPS point of view also kind of really helps that credibility, I think, as well. And it's something you guys can hopefully take a little bit of the pressure on having to create every year, but also we know we've got something that we can help you guys, because that's what we're here for ultimately, aren't we? So yeah, really exciting. And I know the one of the things that I recently had a spins part of is the IV forum, and I did a debate on glove use. So it's always useful to have some additional resources to help people with that. So in I think it's the 21st of May, the IV forum are going to be giving some spoilers to the new NEVAS guidance. So it'll be interesting to see how gloves sits in that in the IV preparation administration. So we'll see that. But please do share your work with us, because we're really excited to see all that stuff that you're doing and we can share. And don't ever forget to copy us in on X, where the give us a tag, because we always love to see what you're doing, don't we? It's always with interest, don't we, Jude?
Absolutely. And we will be looking on the 5th of May to just looking at, and all that week, because like you say, Kerry, most people do sort of hand hygiene day over a week, and we really look forward to seeing all the great activity from our members. So happy hand hygiene day for the 5th of May. And yeah, we look forward to hearing all what's going off across the society.
Yeah, and I'd say if there's anything that you want us to have a chat in our new clinical conversations, do drop us a line. We're always accessible to you guys. It'd be lovely to talk about something that's going to be pertinent to you guys on the floor.